Thank you. Mr. Golub, followed by Pat O'Neill, who will be followed by George Champion. Is Indiana Golub here? Indiana Golub, last call. Here we are. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Thank you for your opportunity. Let me address the board. My name is Pat O'Neill. I've lived in Riverside County 21 years, mostly in the Menifee area. I was a neighbor of the Champions for about 15 years. I know them to be good, honest, upright people, and basically an asset to the community. I was in the trucking and demolition business for the last 35 years, and I now own and operate a sand and gravel operation in Arizona. I provided the truck transportation for about 90% of the equipment and the belongings of the Champions to their current residents. My first statement is counter to Officer Brett Pollard's report on the excavation in Area 1, which is what they've been stating to you about the riding arena. That area had been excavated prior to the Champions buying the property. And as proof, I'd like to show you a photograph of where I dumped approximately 60 cords of wood.
You want to put that up on the machine there, straight up? Thank you.
Next, I would like to say that I've done some surveying of the materials on the grounds. According to Officer Pollard and his mapping layout, some of these stockpiles were left out, and others had trouble making sense of the directions that he was using, so I just went ahead and did my estimation. My estimation of the amount of material that's still on the property that was removed from the basin area is approximately 1,070 cubic yards, and it was based on my training experiences in demolition, removal, and sand and gravel stockpile estimates. I don't see anything wrong with his estimate of how much material was removed from the basin, which was, I think, about 2,100 cubic yards. And that would leave approximately 1,063 yards that were removed and aren't currently there. The only thing that I would like to add to this is I was one of 100 or so trucks that helped save Hemet in the 1980 flood when it broke out over the Saboba area out here. I worked for the county crew for about 6 months, putting the road back to Sage. I worked in 80 and 83 in Elsinore when their flooding happened, in Temecula in 94, and I've seen the damage flood waters will do, and I've been involved in flood control for years. The Champions plan for detention basin is a good one. It'll help provide any further damage to their property, and I think you ought to talk to your people there in code enforcement and see if you can't work this out with them. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming forward. George Champion will be our last speaker on 9.3. George? No further? Okay, great. Brian, I need you to give us a quick chronology of events. Is it your opinion that the 6,216 cubic yards was, although it's not really truly significant, but I'd like to know for just my own edification, was that moved under the ownership of this property owner, or did they inherit a property that was significantly graded and then just further exacerbated the grading that was already done by doing what they did? They allege 1,070 cubic yards they moved themselves.
Supervisor, it appears that the officer's notes that it's all relatively fresh grading. We can't say with any certainty today, right now, if that area 1 that he's talking about, cubic yards comes up to 3,750 cubic yards that they're disputing. When exactly that was done, but it's all freshly disturbed, and normally old grading would start to vegetate over after a number of years. And that's not the case here.
Okay. Your first correspondence with them, when was the complaint made, and do you have consistent communication with the family with regard to their violations? Did they continue to grade after they were noticed that they were in violation? Was there been strong cooperation with the family to try to resolve the issues prior to it getting to the Board of Supervisors?
Looks like there's been quite a bit of activity out there. Notice of intent to inspect was sent out to them on November 13th, 2007, and posted at the front gate of the property on January 15th, 2008.
And did you or your staff be able to meet with the property owners on site to discuss the violations and potential resolution to those grading violations?
It appears Officer Forey had a conversation with them on February 6, 2008, and February 14th, 2008.
And was there any commitments made by the property owners to resolve or cease and desist any grading on the property?
Additionally, we also had to get an inspection warrant to complete our inspection of the property as well.
Is that because they were not cooperative in allowing you on the property?
It would appear so.
Okay. And tell me about the rock sifting issues on the property.
Yes, there is a trauma on the property which helps separate and grade different sizes of rock material. And on the property, there are several different piles of size of rocks, clearly showing that they are separating rocks into piles.
Was that just surface accumulation of rocks, or was there actual grading to get to those rocks, in your opinion?
There's cut into the hillside excavation of the rock and soil, and there's also heavy equipment at the property to do that kind of work, and there is conveyor belts and sifting screens, it looks like, at the property.
So if they truly were excavating for rock, would they have needed a mining permit as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So we have a number of violations going on here. Possible necessity for a mining permit, grading permits. Even if you cut the amount of grading that was done in half, 3,000 cubic yards is just outrageous. I've been a very strong champion since I've been on this board. I don't want illegal grading happening in the county of Riverside. I'm very strict about it. I appreciate the testimonials that they're good people. I'm sure they are very nice people. I understand that they urgently felt the need for a detention basin. We're all in the best interest of public safety, especially with flooding issues. But there is a proper way that you need to go and get permits to do these kinds of things. We can expedite that process if it's imminent danger involved, but we cannot have people in the county of Riverside just grading irresponsibly, especially to this magnitude, and not have a response from government. It is a public safety hazard as far as erosion to surrounding property owners. It could be the loss of life. So I regret that I'm going to have to go with staff recommendation on this. This is a flagrant abuse of our grading ordinance, and I urge staff to work with the property owner and see if we can get this resolved, but I'm going to make a staff recommendation to abate this public nuisance. Is there a second? That's my motion.
A second.
Any further discussion? Please vote. That passes 3 with 1 absent.